Hurrah!
We are now.
Hello, 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 and welcome to the Hollar Back Show on the Hollar channel with me and MJ, where each week we dive into the wonderful world of culture and politics to see what's been going down with all the unique perspective of the US and the UK viewpoints. Now, MJ is an award-winning journalist and broadcaster based in Washington, D.C., and I am a music producer and not an award-winning author, but nonetheless an author with a couple of books out based in the UK. Now, tonight's show, hi MJ, how are you doing? You good?
Hello. And yourself?
I'm good. I'm sort of, bearing up under the sort of unique kind of situation that we find ourselves in at the moment. So yeah, definitely kind of all interesting. But we're going to talk about a few things, within the show, because obviously we've got to kind of address certain things within this kind of framework that we do here. Mm-hmm. Tonight's show is dedicated to Americana music, and that means we're going to go into it because a lot of people in the UK have heard the word Americana, but basically kind of it doesn't mean much in terms of sort of what it defines. So we're going to go into that tonight with yourself and myself. We've got a special guest on who happens to be also from the UK, which is odd, talking about Americana. But then we're going to have an interview with you a little bit later on to get it from, shall we say, the horse's mouth, which is going to be really interesting because I know, like you know, not only are you an expert journalist, but you have an incredible vision and knowledge of music that is unbeatable in situations like this. I'm really looking forward to kind of having that conversation because I know that you've got unique insights into this subject matter. So we're going to be going into that in a minute, and obviously discussing sort of the wider framework of what Americana is, because I know it's not just about music. There's kind of like fashion and all the kind of other things. As you can see, I've come out with my Americana shirt on, so it's all good. So we're starting off. We do our little talking points. So we're going to be doing our talking points, and obviously it'd be pretty crazy if we didn't talk about what was been going on in the last week in America and the ripple effects that it's actually having tonight in the UK. We've seen a lot of protests going on. So yeah, obviously kind of just a terrible situation that has occurred in Minneapolis that no one with a heart and soul could ever condone. And I hear tonight over here there's been justice has been served by the Minneapolis Department for Justice. We've just heard on the news breaking over here that all the police officers will be charged as a result of the actions that they carried out, which is some kind of solace. I think the family of George Floyd have accepted that would be a start to get justice. Now, you've been in the thick of it. You're in Washington, D.C. What's been your viewpoint on the whole situation as such?
So thankfully, I live and been making sure to stay just outside of DC. I'm seeing a lot that's going on inside of DC. I'm seeing defacing of some of the most beautiful buildings that we have. Our oldest buildings. For us, it's old in comparison to all your buildings. It's not quite as old. Yeah. But we're seeing a lot of defacing of that. There's people are angry, of course, and then there's a lot of honestly, I want to be careful focusing too much on what is going on as far as the violence, because I don't really want to glorify the violence aspect, but there are good things happening, and I look at it like the principle of the phoenix. I'm talking about how the phoenix rises from the ashes. Well, for me, I look at the United States as we can burn it all down, but we'll come back up after we do. We always will. That's what the phoenix does. And that's the United States, So, I hate to say it that way, but I do believe we're going to persevere. I mean, you can see good things already coming out of this. We've got the justice, and what more can I say? But there has been violence, and I just don't even want to glorify that at this time.
No, and I don't think anyone really kind of condones any sensible leader at the moment will be kind of not condoning that kind of behavior. Because if I may sort of interject just a little bit with something that I heard today from Representative James Clyburn of South Carolina, and he was talking very, very eloquently today. Very inspiring man who'd been around during the 1960s with the initial kind of push, the civil rights movement with Martin Luther King, and he was saying things like that. We need to keep our eyes on the prize, and that eyes on the prize is the perfect union that he suggested. And the perfect union is basically people coming together for the first time and actually sharing the things that bring us together as a species, and actually forgetting this thing, whatever this is, how deep that goes, and actually working together as human beings, and for the perfect union. I think that was a beautiful way of putting it. He also went on to say that we must be careful in this time with infiltration from people who don't want solutions and who are only really about keeping the violence going to cause more confusion, for whatever aim that is. Now, he also said that was something that happened during the civil rights movement, that the civil rights movement actually got hijacked by violent sort of extreme wings. I'm not going to go into what side, whatever, but he is a man of experience. He is a man that talks from actually being there with Martin Luther King when they were doing those monsters. So he's not just some Johnny come lately that's decided to sort of pop his head up on the parapet and sort of talk clever stuff that actually with no actual, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's been in the field. So he came out with, basically by saying that we need to come together to work out solutions. But he was saying that when we use violence to achieve our aims, that we actually play into the hands of certain fractions that would actually like to see us still divided.
Yeah.
Because
the majority.
We can actually, like, a lot of people will go, well, I can't support them because look at what they're doing. They've just broken into the Mercedes-Benz shop in Los Angeles and trashed the joint. They've broken into kind of the van shop. Now, a lot of people could justify that. I saw something very sad, actually, and that was a Japanese woman who migrated from Japan 20 years ago, and she'd set up a restaurant in Los Angeles. And she was basically there when people were smashing her business up. And she was trying to ward them off with a broomstick, because there was no police there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they were throwing bricks through her window, and she was saying, "Why are you doing this? I support you. I support you in where you're at. I understand your struggle." And they turned around to her and said, "This is a revolution, and this is the price you have to pay for our revolution." Now, that kind of revolution doesn't actually win hearts and minds. It actually loses hearts and minds. So to requote James Clyburn, who I think, I don't care what wing he's from, but he just sounds like a sensible man, that, when we use violence, we play into their game because we lose the argument. We lose the moral high ground. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's my take on it. And I think, just to end, really, obviously this is a deep scenario that we could talk about the whole show, and I think there should be a chance, if we can get some community leaders on at some point very soon, that we can actually open this debate, because we need to have it from people, from boots on the ground. It's easy for, I know that you're in the thick of it. You're right in DC, and you've heard the bullet shots. You've been in there. You know the story. But I think it'd be more kind of, how should we say, sort of more accurate and more beneficial if we have people on the ground who are experiencing that every day.
And there are a lot of people on the ground showing a lot. It depends on where they are, and it depends. So depending on where they are is depending on what you're seeing. The United States is a huge, huge, huge place. And, it's all about perspective here. You never know who's shooting that video and what they're going to show you. I'm in a very unique position where I have been on the production side of news, and I do know that you're only getting what they want you to see. So if you're not here, or you're not, like you said, who's on the ground, then you may not get that. And it's even true when you got untrained people showing you what they're seeing at the moment. Some people will shoot people, they'll wait to shoot anything at all, or to film anything at all until there is violence, because that's the interesting thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about people that like James Clyburn, who I think is a man of reason, is a man that actually you could get behind and follow as a leader, who inspires trust, who inspires dignity, who inspires kind of like hearts and minds to kind of understand through logic and through by using the words that actually kind of inspire and give you goosebumps, just like Martin Luther King did every time I heard those speeches about the vicious racists in Alabama. As a kid, we'd hear that and be so inspired, and this is a situation, man, it's a situation that's been boiling for centuries, and, it's blown up. I remember being a kid seeing Rodney King happen, and being really blown away, because it had been the first. I didn't see the Watts riots, because obviously that was way before my time. But obviously these things have been blowing up, but nothing's like Martin Luther King's son or grandson was on the UK news today saying, unfortunately, nothing has really changed. And that's the problem. And that's why there's rage, because there hasn't been any change. Can you imagine if Martin Luther King had been allowed to rise to some sort of power base in America in the late 60s, one of the most beautiful men to ever grace the planet was allowed to change things rather than being assassinated. Could you imagine the position that we'd be in now? Just like if Reagan and Thatcher had kind of changed the scope of things with using kind of renewable energies back in the 80s, and not shutting down mines and making working class people unemployed. Could you imagine where we'd be now if the miners hadn't had their coal mines shut down and replaced with nothing, and was reinvested in? Half these problems wouldn't be happening now if we didn't have regimes that come in for 5 years and then leave with nothing, just leaving a failed kind of propositions that never really came to any light. So this is tragedy on many scales, because action wasn't taken when we should have taken action, and the small-minded,
which is the story of the beginning, from the beginning.
But the thing is, though, MJ, the thing is, though, that we're in a moment of change right now, and that change has to happen. We can't go back from this. We can't ever be having this discussion again about police officers and brutality ever again. Really, this is it. This is our last chance saloon.
We did have this conversation till when Kent State University, there were officers who shot and killed white students. Actually,
I remember. Well, I've seen the clips of it.
Yeah, and so they
were protesting about Vietnam.
We never ever had to have that conversation again, but here we are. And so until people start balancing out and choose peace, and choose to, as you said, even to love the planet, not just be a statist and love right where they are and only their color of people, we're not going to have any change. And until we accept the planet and ourselves,
that's right,
as one thing, as one body, one unified body, we're going to continue to have this problem. And so, and I can't imagine in my lifetime that I will ever see a day where everyone will decide that every life is important. And
absolutely,
you said something earlier that really stuck with me. And you said until you said, I think it was every life, that's the planet included, until that all matters, nothing matters.
Exactly. The thing is that we've got to come together as a species now to actually save the planet, because it's the planet's life that really matters.
We're supposed to do that.
Yeah, no planet, no people, no arguments. Do you know what I'm saying? And you know, I don't know. I think we've got to a stage now where we've seen enough. There's enough tragedy. There's enough tears to cry. You know, I mean, I'm an animal. I'm an animal activist. So whenever I see kind of like, you know, injustices happening against animals who can't even speak up for themselves, who are tortured and murdered on a day-to-day basis, that breaks my heart as much as anything else I see on this planet. I rate animals' lives as important as human beings' lives. So, you know, and the planet's life, you know, and I think that, you know, this virus and this situation that we've just incurred now, we're occurring now, things have to change. Things have to change. We're going to be talking about this again. I think we'll probably do a future, maybe next week's show. It just that so happens that we decided to do the Americana theme before this news actually broke. So obviously, you know, we decided to, you know, a little bit of respect for the situation. But we're going to move on with the show, MJ. Now, it is Americana show. We're going to be talking about this a little bit more in an interview with you in a minute. But you had a chance to talk to Sam Miller, who is, as I say, is an Englishman who is really into Americana. So obviously he knows more than I do. And you had a chance to sort of chat to him about his TV program. Now, we have had a few technical issues. There might be a little bit of delay on this, so we're going to apologize for any of the technical side of things. Please bear it in mind that you know, we are trying to get these technical things actually sorted as best we can with the resources we've got at the moment. So bear it in mind. Enjoy the interview for what it is, whatever you can get out of it, and then we're going to come back, have a quick chat about that, and then we're going to go into his favorite track in a moment. Is that okay with you, MJ?
That's great with me.
Cool, let's do it.
All right.
Or respected outside of America.
Okay. We're here.
Everybody, okay.
Hello, everybody. We're here with Sam Miller. Sam Miller is a part of the Americana Bar
TV.
Oh, I had the TV.
The UK Americana. Look up here. Look, where is it? Up here.
We need your logo. Let me. Here's MJ. There's my logo, and then
Very posh. Very posh.
Okay, great. Well, so we're here to discuss. You're in the UK, and you run this show. You're one of the co-hosts, right, of this show, the UK Americana Bar, or are you the?
I am the presenter, the host of the show, and we go around parts of the world. We have co-hosts, so we've got Eric Dar in Nashville. You might have heard of it. He's via Fox. We go Canada, Ireland, Scotland. Yeah, it's really, really cool. It's great. But I'm the host of the show, and then we go here, and we go there, and we go everywhere. You know.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, okay, you know, being an American, we tend to get all caught up and self-absorbed. I'll just be straight up. So. Over here, I just couldn't imagine someone in UK being interested in Americana. I thought that Americana was American, and I couldn't imagine anybody else liking it.
Well, that's the funny thing, you see, because it's kind of not. It's known in America, but it's more respected outside of America because it's Americana. So it's kind of the rest of the world looking into America.
Okay.
So it's getting to be more popular outside than it is in America. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, actually, because
we're flying through Germany, all through Europe, you know, about Canada and Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines, Brazil. Well, what we get, regards, I'm quite excited about this whole project because I did a bit of singing and songwriting back in the day, a couple of albums in Nashville. I tried. Oh yeah, but I had this Americana thing going on in the back of my head, and what the thing was then, about 7 years ago, was how to kind of embody the Americana lifestyle into something that people would watch and listen to, that kind of thing. So, I mean, it's predominantly about the music. I'm a musician, or my team of musicians, you know, our fans are musicians, as it were, music lovers. So we kind of delved into the American lifestyle, which is fashion and food and cooking, you know, and so on and so on. So we smoothed the deal, come up with a format for a show, which is the music from the greatest artists around, bit of cooking, which we have a bit of fun. We've got a Bigfoot called Bernie. Bernie comes in. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. So we started going, and it's just so very exciting. I went to a concert about 3 years ago. It started to really get hot for us. I went to a concert to see John Mayer at the O2.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And John Mayer booked to the stage. I hope you don't mind me telling you this story. It's really quick.
Oh, I want to hear it. Yeah.
So John Mayer, O2, 7,000 people. And John Mayer brought to the stage with his hero. This guy's worked with Tom Jones, Paul McCartney, everybody you can think of. And his name was Robbie McIntosh. When this guy came on, I mean, he was incredible, absolutely incredible. Anyway, 3 weeks later, I'm walking down the street, the phone goes. I'm on the phone. Yes, hello. Yes, Robbie would like to come on your show. So I laughed and I said, oh, I said, is that the same Robbie that was at the O2 the other night? She said, yeah.
Yeah. No.
So, when he come down, and he turned up Robbie McIntosh with the Who's bongo player, Jody Linscott, one of Elton John's piano players. And I mean, the whole moral of the story is that since then, he's been sending to Artisan, we've been building and building the UK Americana bar. And it's based in the UK, but we go out beyond. So,
yeah, Nashville, like I saw a clip of your Nashville correspondent down in a guitar shop, and I'm trying to remember the names because I've actually been there myself.
Carter's, was it Carter's?
Yes, yeah. So yeah.
Awesome shop. I mean, he said like he had Elvis's first guitar in there.
Yeah.
How does it go? Steve Earle pops in all the time. All the guys, brilliant. So when Eric was interviewing, we were thinking, oh, it's great. It's a guitar shop. It was interviewing. No, it wasn't just a guitar shop. It was the holy grail of guitar shops.
Right.
Cool,
Yeah. It was a lovely show. I really enjoyed it, and he's so down to earth, which makes it, him and his wife, they're so down to earth, which makes it
fantastic.
It's really hard to believe how down to earth the most successful artists and people in it are. And I know they know they're special, but yet they don't really understand how incredibly special. So I love that about them, definitely.
It's true that there seems to be the humble that the artist is, the better it gets, and that's strange. It's a weird one. It's funny. Earlier, I always have like a little top up before I go out and do the show or whatever. And I think I told you earlier I was listening to Mick Jagger and Muddy Waters, bingo, But I remember one of the greatest experiences I had was with Tom Jones. He was one of the nicest guys you could ever wish to meet. Had all the time for you. And if it's a god, this superstar, and you expect, I don't want you to expect green rooms, entourage with him, bodyguards. No, just a really nice time.
Yeah.
I love that.
Honestly, I discovered that over the years as well. Sometimes you run onto that occasional, but
I met 1 or 2 or 3 or 500.
But most of the time.
Yeah,
the most iconic artists you can actually sit down, have a chat with, So it surprises me incredibly. So another question for you. How did you come being in the UK? I mean, what inspired you? I mean, what drove you with the Americana, even once you got here and once you got into the scene? What was it about it that spoke to you as somebody from the UK?
Well, I can honestly answer that question very simply. I'm from an Irish family background. I'm Irish. Mm-hmm. And my family played in show bands across the whole of Ireland. People like the Dubliners and Christy Moore. Mm-hmm. And, when I was born on the plane from Ireland to London, don't laugh, I don't know what it makes me. But the music was always mostly inside me, and I grew up with a kind of lot of influences in music. So as I was trying to be an artist, I went through different genres with bands and pop and all kinds of different things, but I never quite could get me. Do you know what I mean? You got Neil Young, you know what Neil Young plays. You got, any of these Tom Jones, you know what he played. With Sam, I could never quite define what music was for me. And it was only until, it was only until about, I'd say, 8 years ago, when I realized what it was. Americana. Americana music is country, is jazz, is folk, blues. Mm-hmm. It's like a mainstream popular music. So I thought, bingo, That's it. With that, I just became Sam Americana, you know, Americana Sam, everything. I hope that answers your question. So it's kind of a multi,
totally,
you know, but I mean, it's really crazy. You know, it's a little bit of rap in Americana as well, actually.
Yes, and surprisingly so, right?
Sometimes.
For many people, it really is. Like R&B is actually an element of Americana, and people are like, yeah, really? Because I thought it was basically just rejected country from Nashville. You know, you get that a lot.
Very rootsy, and it's very true, and it's very it's a bit of Celtic, and it's a raw music, it's a rootsy music, which I always love to say, you know, real lyrics, real singing, you know, the real deal. You know, everything else is through the wash, but this is the real deal. Americana is the real deal. Music, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you, and it does embody just about every. For us in particular, it seems to embody everything from coast to coast, and be that the southern coasts or, you know, but from all the coasts, it does everything in between. It does seem to embody that, like some kind of influence from every little area. And sometimes you hear more, for instance, like I'm sure you know who Jason Isbell is. You know, for instance, with Jason Isbell, you can hear like these Nashville inflections, yet at the same time you hear these bluesy southern somethings going on, and you know, yeah, and I like the title of Americana because it doesn't have to be affixed. Like it's not, you know, you don't have to adhere to a complete genre with Americana.
Exactly, this is it. You know, I mean, a lot of people say like country music today is, you know, this country music today is country music, but there's a little bit of pop influence in there.
Yeah.
So is that a type Americana? I don't know. It's a tricky one. I think what it is that it sounds silly, but as long as you haven't got too many or not enough words in the one sentence, you know, saying the same thing all the time, that will be, you know, it'll be a different kind of music other than pop, you know. But I mean, Americana, I mean, some of the artists, you know, it starts like people like your Elvises or your, you know, God, there's so many Bob Dylans or Neil Youngs back in the day. But as time goes on, Bruce Springsteen Americana, as I say, John Mayer's Americana.
Yeah.
Right up to, there's a kid over here, I forgot his name there, big in the blues scene, Americana. He's from the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's funny. I've always said one of the kind of discussions I've had with a lot of people, TV producers, advertisers, so on and so forth, is that, and I mean this sincerely, you know, in the UK and in Europe, by the way, which is now becomes very, very cosmopolitan, very, very big, you know, we will eat Americana. We will drink Americana. We will listen to Americana, but we actually don't know it's Americana.
Oh.
Until there's a show that says, hey, he's wearing, like, you're cooking up and you're singing, hey, Americana. That is it, you know. It's really good fun with a Bigfoot.
With a Bigfoot. I'm gonna have to see this Bigfoot because I didn't get that pleasure. I must have missed that part on the last one I watched. So
Bernie, her name is.
Oh, so,
we call her Bernie. Yeah, she's very
Bernie. Okay. That was a female. I was expecting Bigfoot to be a man, a big hairy man.
She runs the coffee bar downstairs. So we have
That's wonderful. Well, with that said, it's been great having you on. I want to see if you have any closing thoughts. What would you say to anybody watching here? It could be anywhere in the world now. So what would you say to them?
You know what? I'll tell you what I would say to them. What Ringo Starr said to me once. Peace and love. I mean, it's music, and if it's, you know, live for the moment that we're here. Peace and love, but most importantly, go to our YouTube channel and check out all of our clips. So you'll absolutely love them. The UK Americana Bar TV show. How's that?
You also have a Facebook as well, right?
Oh, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, we're everywhere.
You're everywhere. Okay, great. We will everybody watching should be looking that up.
By the way, one last thing. It's my birthday today.
Oh, it is your birthday. I was actually going to blast that.
No, you wasn't.
I swear. I just was keeping it.
So, it was most very important to do this with you, though, MJ. Thank you for having me on.
Wonderful. It's great having you on. Happy birthday. Everybody else tell him happy birthday, too. All right, you guys. Have a good day.
God bless.
Hey, that was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, awesome.
Everyone,
cool guy.
Yeah, I think you got deep in there, and but I think I'm still as confused as when I first started the show about. So I need to find out more because as far as I'm concerned, from what I gathered there, it was like everything but Nashville country is Americana. Do you know what I'm saying? So has Nashville,
Americana.
has Nashville actually isolated themselves from the rest of America by the whole connect? Because it sounds like there's been a pincer movement, like a bit of a blitzkrieg around Nashville, and Americana's kind of taken over the scene. But we're going to go into that a lot deeper, obviously, when I kind of have a chance to have a chat with you, because obviously you're the core of this kind of show in terms of the intelligence of the situation. And Sam wasn't. Sam's all good, man, and he reminded me of Malcolm McLaren a little bit. He had that Malcolm McLaren. Now, Malcolm McLaren used to manage the Sex Pistols. He was a real maverick kind of English entrepreneur stroke artist. Like made a lot of enemies in his time, but also made an amazing array of kind of records. Oh, hello. Are we getting into the next tune? So yeah, we had, but definitely, amazing, and how strange again, sort of like that. I can imagine that the majority of people in England have not really. That's the whole point of the show. Majority of English people would not really understand what Americana is. So that's what the basis of this show is about. Now, I know that Sam has an array of music going on because obviously he has his own TV show, the UK America. Oi, behave yourself, girl.
It's not me.
How did you do that without moving your lips? So yeah, he's got an array of stuff. He's got his own kind of TV show, the Americana UK Bar TV, I think is the deal. And obviously he's got a lot of stuff going on and a lot of stuff that he promotes. Now, you must have picked his brains on sort of what was hot for him at the moment. Did he choose a hot track?
He did. He picked a little clip from his show having Sean Taylor on. So he sent that to me. And
okay.
I'm happy to share that with everybody if they'd like to see it.
Can we get a little insight into who Sean Taylor is before we hit the video?
Well, that's the thing. He kind of introduces Sean Taylor. Sean Taylor is actually he's like you. He's an Irish guy. So it's really awesome.
Okay.
And so is actually Sam is as well. So that is Sean Taylor's appeal. Some people say he's akin to being a lot like Leonard Cohen and Tom Waits. So he's actually, and so I went ahead and listened because I just had this interview just a little bit.
Wicked, man. Okay. Yeah, I just before you go, it's just interesting that it all seems to be sort of like Irish guys with English accents that are kind of been born in the Irish Channel kind of thing. Do you know? Although I'm a Dublin boy, do you know what I mean? But again, sort of like it seems to sort of be that we, the Irish kind of got that connection, much more of a deeper connection with American kind of culture in some ways. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, it's interesting, man. That was the case because he's a sort of we're a bit of a lost tribe, you see, because the Irish wouldn't sort of relate to us as being Irish because we've got English accents, and the English kind of hate us because we're Irish. You know what I mean? So we're kind of like lost little puppies, basically, kind of wandering around going, somebody love us, somebody out there accept us for who we are, and hopefully one day that will happen. So we're going to listen to this track from Sean Taylor was it? And we're going to have a little chat about it afterwards, and then we're going to go into a little bit of an interview with you. Hopefully everyone's out there kind of ready for this tune, and we're going to roll it now. Is that cool?
Yes, let's get it done. Here we go.
Rock and roll, baby, let's do it.
Hey everybody, up next is Sean Taylor, troubadour singer-songwriter all the way from Kilburn. This guy's doing great in the States and all throughout Europe, singing So Fine from his album Chase the Night. Take a look at this, you're going to love it.
Run my tongue along the inside of your thigh. Dig your nails deep into my spine like your sweat on my brow. She's so fine, so fine, so fine. She got me chasing that old candy cane. Numb my bodies and I numb my brain. Do it once and grieve it twice. But all that love keeping y'all up tonight. She's so fine. She's so fine. Looking fine. She be looking right fine. Graffiti burns right on the west way. Ink with determined flesh, like a mirror and a razor blade, and the sun will rest on the tracks of our skin for the coldest of eyes. Come on, rejoice in your sins. She's so fine, so fine. So fine, looking fine. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
There, that was a cut. You're sharp, aren't you? Like a butcher, you are.
I was in there going like this, and then I thought, and you're like, cut it.
Here comes the next butcher's
Yeah,
mix.
you're gone now. No, he was great. I loved
That
it.
was sharp.
I loved it.
You loved it.
Yeah.
Okay, now, is that actually Americana, though?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
I heard it.
So because we've got to get to the core of this. So by the end of the show, people can go, that's Americana. All right. That's what I basically want to be able to get to.
felt Americana from it. He had all the right tones, all the bluesy tones. He also had the very raw. It's like he did pick up a lot of things from who he's listened to over the years. I could hear a lot of different folks in there, and the whole Leonard Cohen. I picked up on that. I see,
Okay.
Yeah, I felt it. I felt Americana out of it. That's probably my best.
That's all we need to know. If you felt Americana, then that's Americana.
I'm Americana.
That's as good as it gets for me.
I'm
That's cool.
Not a mercant.
MJ, I need to get some questions out of you, man, so we get deeper into this subject matter. Are you cool to answer a couple of questions? Because obviously we know that we're going to get the truth. So MJ, what does Americana mean to you?
To me personally, okay. Yeah. When I think of Americana, so as a small child, I traveled a lot with my dad, and I saw a lot in the United States, heard a lot of different music. I heard a lot of musical influences, and so all of the things that I gathered throughout from the very early childhood, including culture, you know, the highway culture is a series, and I didn't, you know, I have not spent a lot of time in my life examining what is Americana, but now, you know, that I'm older, and earlier today, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I know exactly what that is, and that is the highway culture, moving along, the music, you know, everybody jumping in the back of the pickup truck and taking off to the next gig, or, you know, the camping in between, and I don't know, the motels, the hotels, all the miners.
It's a specific kind of area that we were talking about, and the area being of the Appalachian Mountains. So tell me, I need to know what the origins of it were, and I need to know sort of like the geographical kind of locations of where it starts and where it finishes, because not a lot of people are going to know where the Appalachians are for a start, where they start or where they finish. They might not even care. Who knows? But they might come away with it actually geographically slightly smarter than they started off with.
Okay. So we're going to hit up a part of Americana. So Americana, this is going to be hard to believe, but Americana, the geographical location is America. Now, with that said, though, where do some of the, well, let's just say a lot. Where does country music, where does bluegrass come from? Where does the blues and jazz and all that come from? Well, you see a lot of that, even though you see a lot of it coming out of the north, but you see a lot of that stuff coming out of the southern United States. And then bluegrass you see coming out of the hills of Appalachian. Now, for those who are watching that may not know where the Appalachian mountain range is, it is on the eastern part of the United States. It spans several states. It goes even from right around Pennsylvania. Well, I'm hoping they know where Pennsylvania and Ohio and West Virginia.
We know that.
Sorry?
It's north to south. We've got a picture of it being from north, like starting off in the north but heading down south. Right.
Yeah,
okay.
down south.
It's a huge mountain range, man. Do you know what I mean? It's
right.
It's bigger than the South Downs, put it that way. Right. It's a lot bigger than the South Downs over here. So, okay, cool. So now, the origins of Americana, where would you suggest that actually came from?
You know, because Americana is a big, broad paint stroke, you know, I really feel like a lot of it is from the more country southern areas, you know, what a lot of people hear. You know, but Americana is Americana. You know, the Midwest is a large part of that. Music played, and like I was talking about the highway culture, music played along highways, you know, while traveling, where you see going to the different, when I think of Americana, and I think a lot of people do, I think about the road, and I think a lot of people do, especially in the United States. We think of diners, we think of, culture.
So it has a kind of hub of where it kind of came out of, and that musicality kind of came as a result of kind of the traveling, the lifestyle, the kind of the places that you could actually play that kind of sound. You know what I mean? Kind of who were the kingpins to start with that we'd know about? Not know about
Americana. Oh my goodness.
I hope you've done your research here, because I've set you up as the expert in the.
All right. Well, yeah. That's why it's like, don't get me too. No, there's just so many. Like John Prine. We've got Rodney Crowell.
Sadly long.
Roseanne Cash. I mean, like the Cash family. Period. And I know I'm partial to the Cash family. But
of course, the Carter family, man.
Yes, I could go on. I mean, like, but to put your finger on who the king. Well, I'm going to go ahead and say John Prine. God rest his soul. He wrote, and
he was amazing, amazing. If anyone over here in the UK doesn't know John Prine, you need to check him out, because he was an absolute legend. And unfortunately, it was COVID that took him out, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. He had a lot of underlying health issues, and then he got that, and it just took
him out of the game.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I don't think we're any closer to really being able to sort of decipher over here whether you've done a good enough job of actually convincing us if Americana kind of like, if we were driving along and suddenly a post hit us, like, and it was an Americana post, we'd know if it was an Americana post or not. So my next question is basically sort of what other areas like does Americana kind of show up in American culture that we would probably have kind of experienced as going into, say, like Ed's Easy Diner in sort of like London, do you know what I mean? Which is a kind of like, you know, one of the first kind of American diners, I think, in this country. If you don't know what Ed's Easy Diner is, it's like it's an amazing little place, just on the sort of borders of Soho. So yeah, well worth checking out for a veggie burger.
Well, Route 66.
Only joking. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't go in there because I don't eat meat. But if you want an American experience, that's going to be the deal. So, what is what other areas? Like, obviously, I'm wearing a shirt now that I love to wear when I'm going out and playing live. Now, would this be an Americana kind of design? Would you say that was Americana?
It is, but it's more so like a lot of people would consider it to be country.
Okay. See, now we're getting somewhere. So this is where I need to clear up this confusion between sort of like what is country and what is Americana.
Route 66.
That's what I think.
Historical Route 66. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Dixie Chicks basically had a little bit of an anti-Bush op, didn't they?
No.
Sorry, am I getting that wrong? The Dixie Chicks had a problem with it.
Route 60 or Route 66.
Oh yeah, Route 66. Sorry, yeah. So I thought you said.
So if
Dixie Chicks in the bush.
Anything that goes along Route 66 or Route 44 for that matter, there's a lot that if I was to name a highway, an Americana highway, Route 44 and connects to Route 66.
Sure.
And I would go ahead and throw in I-40, Interstate 40. So those are if you look at the route or the route,
yeah.
Sorry, from that, and you look at that, then you're going to find where the origins of Americana. I mean, Americana is America everywhere. Yeah. I mean, I would say Hawaii, and I would say maybe even Alaska, but I don't think so.
Okay. So it's specific, really. Do you know what I'm saying? In terms of, but what I'm trying to, obviously you've said this shirt was more country, but it's not Americana. So this is what I'm trying to sort of I want to get closer to.
It is very complicated because Americana is an umbrella for country, for bluegrass, for jazz, or even R&B, and it's all of that combination of influences.
So that's getting closer to sort of understanding, a little bit more. So it is country music sits within that, because obviously I was, when I spoke to you before, I was under the impression that sort of country, there was a backlash against the kind of the mainstream Nashville sound.
Okay, so yes, okay, I'm glad you brought that up, because it has become so people started using that because country music got so elite and hard to break into for country music artists. So they just like, okay, well, we're American music, we're Americana then. And so and they are, because a lot of the people if they were too bluesy, they'd be like, yeah, you need to go somewhere else, like it's too bluesy. Or if it's got a little too much of an R&B feel, not even country music is country music anymore. And I don't mean it in a bad way.
People were complaining about country music, because I remember seeing the country music kind of awards recently, and they were saying it's all finger clip and getting on my high tractor and going down, and it wasn't quite the sort of, it wasn't. I know that was a bad impersonation, but it was kind of like a bit of a mixture of kind of hip hop beats and sort of country kind of singing, which didn't feel sort of like kind of like country. That country had sort of moved away from being country, if you like, and so. Maybe if the new country is kind of like not country, then the old country could be Americana.
Probably, yes.
Clear that one up as well.
Because look, it's so funny because this conversation was had amongst but whenever like Hank Williams Jr. and Waylon Jennings and some of them were coming out with some of their outlaw country, they're like, that's not real country.
Yeah, right.
This all started a while back, you know, and for me, because I was a kid in the 80s, you know, I would hear stuff like Hank Williams, you know, like real Hank Williams and Hank Williams Jr. And I'd be like, wow, that's what country is. Anything that had that sad, lonesome, heart tearing sound to it had to be country, especially if it was played with some twanging guitars and whatnot. And then, but then there was like Travis Tritt, you know, he's like, put some drive in your country, which was rock, you know, and so it was like, okay, so now people are saying this isn't country either. It's being classified as country. And then now all the people who weren't country in the 70s are now country, right?
Country. Yeah.
So now you move forward and you've got people like Florida Georgia Line who sing like back road. They're talking about driving on the back roads, you know, that kind of thing, and singing about, and then they do a little rap like, yeah, I'm out there on the back road. What do you think about that? What, you know, and then they have that little jive going on, and then people are like, that's not country, and they look back at Tritt and say, that's country.
yeah. I mean, I think, you know, there's always going to be, I think as long as we've got kind of like, you know, two eyes, a nose, and whatever else, we're always going to be divided by something, aren't we? Do you know what I mean? Whether it's kind of, you know, I don't know what. But have you got an example? I know you mentioned Jason, one of these dudes that Jason was
an example that I used. He's really. Oh, go ahead.
Have you got a Jason track, Jason Isbell kind of track loaded up that we could have a little quick listen to?
I can pull one up right now.
If you can, so we can have a little bit of a musical interlude and then come back. We'll discuss that. And we've got the WTF moment of the week to come before the end of the show. We're getting very close to the end of the show, girlfriend. Another second episode is nearly completed. So let's get this Jason up and see if we can decipher a little bit more about what this Americana deal is all about.
All right, let's get him. Let's get him live at the Brooklyn Bowl. I'll get this up and running right here. And then I'm going to, the bad thing is it's going to have a.
When I first saw this product, I thought it looked kind of crazy. Didn't really understand what the benefits would be. But
up and create the ultimate living room dance floor.
This is a word from our sponsors, folks. They're not paying us. That's the problem. Sponsors that don't pay us.
Something happened there where it took off the video, like a musical video. So let's go ahead and play a different one. Okay.
Have you got one of his studio recordings that he's done the video with the big tray back and
yeah, that's what I was trying to. That's actually what I was trying to get up. But we're trying to get past.
The live thing's good, but we want to hear the studio kind of things to sort of get a real gist.
Okay.
If that's cool.
It is cool. It's really cool. I just have to find that app. I got an app for that.
Okay. So while you're doing that, let's have another little narrative. So fashion. Does it turn up in fashion? Does it turn up in art? Does it turn up in food? Is there an Americana type of food that you would say is kind of like, oh, you know, we're going out for an Americana tonight? You know, is that a thing?
Mm-hmm. Like there's actually Americano coffee. You know, strangely it's called Americano. I don't really, you know, really what you know, you and I were having the conversation about diners and you know how you got these these kind of like these McDonald's of Americana diners that pop up, you know, and people are like, yeah, you go for the real American experience, and you get there and you're like, this cheese, is it really, you know? But in particular, yes, a diner with a waitress named Flo with a strange, crappy little table and leather seats,
and that lukewarm coffee that they serve all day.
Yeah, well, and little old men gather at 6 a.m. Well, not everybody that gathers at 6 a.m. at the diner is old, but it's tradition that little old men go to the diner at 6 a.m., drink their coffee, then the lunch crowd comes in, and what do they eat? What do you think they eat?
Oh, man, it's got to have some meat thing going on. A massive cow in a bun.
Exactly. With what?
With lots of tomato sauce. and I don't know, some other gherkin.
Chips.
Some massive gherkin.
Gherkin.
They can hear you.
French fries or some real American.
Gherkin, I'm going to kill you for that. I don't know. I can imagine it being a massive old cow burger and, you know, with some French. Are you allowed to say French fries? Have you got this tune? Is Jason going to do something for us?
Okay.
Come on, Jason. We need you.
All right, here it goes.
This could be the pinnacle of the show.
And here it is. This is a live recording of. This is a live recording at the House of Blues.
Okay, so let's have a look. Let's have a watch then. Bring it up on the screen so we can have a good old look.
Hey folks, how are y'all doing tonight? Thank you so much for coming to the show. I'm Jason Isbell, 400 unit Shoals, Alabama for the most part. Happy to be back in Boston. Been too long. It's been too long. We hope y'all have a great time tonight.
That's just right. Yeah. Can we get it on the screen?
Cross-stitch pillow with a headrest wind.
Okay.
Said his cab was his orneriest friend. Left hand jumping the keys in the wind. Well, they thought he had the red lights memorized. Now there's glass in the gravel like the stars in the sky. And that slow motion minutes when you live in there.
Okay, let's cut back to. So we got a. Okay.
Lovely.
All right. I think there was we had another. We're gonna have to get a technician in for this show. You know that we're gonna have to pay a technician. No disrespect. So yeah, obviously that's Jason Isbell. Is that right? I mean, he had that sort of vibe going on, which I thought was very kind of country influenced vibe and telling a story, and that's really kind of like where we're at with that. Now we're gonna sort of move on to the WTF moment, obviously, because we're running very short of time. Actually, how do you see it making more waves? Do you think, sort of Americana?
I just think it's just going to keep plowing on like it always has. And I think it's going to just continue to evolve like everything does in music. And it's just going to evolve till nobody even knows what Americana is anymore.
Sure. Do you think it will encompass kind of country and that will be it? Country will be like, oh my God, we're being taken over by Americana. We're going to have to give in. Do you think that's the case or not?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. That's cool. You have been warned. If you don't sign our next project, we're coming after you with a big Americana umbrella and we're taking over. All right. Yeah. We're going to do the WTF moment of the week. Is that all right with you, MJ?
Yes. Let's do it. Bring it on.
So we're going to do so this is something that we're going to do. Obviously, if you've had a WTF moment of the week, then I suggest you write in and we'll sing it out loud for you. This week's comes in from Diane from the Cranberries. The big, huge, a great, huge band from Atlanta that we supported on the show last week. Huge fan of the Cranberries. They also do a show on Cowboy Radio, which is a Wyoming-based radio station run by a guy called Jeff Rickett, who's also very supportive of the stuff that I've been putting out. He's supporting the Stand Up for the Heroes track. Now, Diane sent this in, so I'm just going to read it pretty much verbatim. She says, hey, I got a what the hell moment for you this show this week, and that's probably not actually so sweet. She basically says, while shopping in Walmart over the weekend, I heard a woman using the threat of COVID-19 as a disciplinary measure against her small children. In an effort to keep them from wandering away from her, she kept yelling at them, saying that if they got more than 6 feet away from her, they were going to catch the virus. Don't catch the virus. And so obviously one of her little boys walked away, and obviously to get a toy or whatever else he was going to get in there, I don't know. And she's obviously done a big old shout out to him and gone, "Go ahead, go and get the virus then." And that was Diane's kind of WTF moment, where she was scratching her head going, so people are now using the threat of discipline from their siblings, that they'll use the virus against them if they don't stick with the program. So interesting. WTF. Have you got one for us quickly? I mean, I'm sure you've got a few. Try and keep them as little. Like, I know you've got bullet ones that if you want to share that one.
I'm sorry, I've got so many WTFs that I don't even know where to begin. But Diane, awesome. That's a good one.
Yeah,
use it.
if you don't want somebody to have a WTF moment about you, don't use the COVID virus as a threat for your children's discipline. You heard it here, folks. Right, okay, we're coming up to an hour, and we're going to basically go just finish off in what's happening next, really. So what's happening next for you? Obviously, we're going to be doing another show next week, or a different theme. Hopefully, be talking about something as interesting as we have. I hope people have enjoyed the show. Big shout out to all the sponsors who are kind of like supporting the show as well. What's happening for you this next week, MJ, apart from just trying to stay out of the line of bullet fire?
I'm going to try to stay alive. I'm going to work on magical ways to try to get the Hollar Entertainment listening room open with my lovely, lovely business partner, Donna Sue Roberts. So we are going to be working on that and finding out what the regulations are going to be and what this is going to look like for us. We're also doing a lot of booking for our entertainers, such as Thomas Gabriel and Rick Farrell.
Excellent.
And when this guy's allowed to come over, well, this way.
Yeah. Fantastic. Excellent. Well, again, it's been an interesting, enlightening show. I hope people have enjoyed it out there. We'll be back next week with another killer pack show with music and entertainment and all the rest of it. Some great talking points. So thank you, MJ, for having me co-host with you. Have a very safe week in these very strange times. We all have to come together and find peaceful solutions to these situations that we find ourselves embroiled in. One love. Let's stick together. Peace. We're out.
Bye.